looking at what are actually think tanks, and if you can contribute to that sector or to that ecosystem. So we tried like to target the best possible like our presentation, and we like also we work on a different data set so that we can provide you as much insight as it is possible, so you can have a better idea. But then we are going to present, Camila and myself, and then we are having like this discussion, hoping that we can solve some of your answers. Otherwise, if there are not some the answers, we can also come back to you later. But with this introduction, I'm Stefania Teran, and I'm the On Think Tanks Program Director at OTT Consulting. And the On Think Tanks program is a leading platform for think tanks, but also for people working and funding think tanks. So what we do is we do what think tanks don't, that is learn from them, or try to generate knowledge around their work. And that's something that is really tough when you are in your daily activities. So we don't work or don't worry about the what, but on the how. So that's what we do around. So we have an initiative which is have a different other spaces such as school, a conference, a report, that always try to inform the work of think tanks and what they are doing in terms of impact. What we try to do is help them to be more impactful or useful, and also more sustainable over time. With that, I will give the space to Camila so that she can introduce, and then we can also introduce ourselves. You.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Camila. I am Research and Learning Officer here on Think Tanks. I'm based in Quito, in Ecuador. So yeah, that's it. Nice to meet.
Maybe you can tell somebody else so he.
Probably I see Crystal.
Thanks, Ian, for making this happen, and thanks to you both. I'm a professor of philosophy and ethics in Vermont in the United States. I was a first-generation college student, so I rely on events like this because I don't have a great network. So I rely on events like this to learn about how industries work. And I've been feeling, and now that I'm getting a little bit more senior in my role, I'm feeling a deeper obligation to do public-facing work, and to try to engage with government and industry and that kind of thing. So yeah, so that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Crystal. That's really not also to know your expectations and why are you here. Okay, Rini?
Yeah, so I'm Renee Jorgensen. I'm a professor at the University of Michigan. I work in moral and political philosophy, and I've just gotten tenure. And so, like Crystal, I'm starting to work towards, publicly engaged work. And I'm more interested in public philosophy as using philosophy to help inform public policy rather than high-profile philosophy. And so that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Renee. Jan?
Sure. Hi, I'm Ian Olasov. I'm the president of the Public Philosophy Network. I guess the way that I found my way here was a few years ago. I learned about on think tanks from the philosopher Manuel Gustavo Isaac, who is doing some really cool work on science policy. And last time I checked with this organization in Switzerland, although the name of the organization is escaping me at the moment. And it struck me that there are lots of people who are interested, whose work in philosophy has relevant policy implications, and who are interested in getting some uptake for that work and getting some kind of foot in the door, or getting some sort of audience, or learning how to speak the language, whatever it is. But there's a lot of like elsewhere in the world of public philosophy, there's a lot of reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of people sort of like, just learning all of these hard things to do, learning how to deal with different sorts of bureaucracies, sort of one by one. And it seemed like, on think tanks is this organization that, among other things, is helping to solve this problem of sharing knowledge among people who might otherwise be, reinventing the wheel, sort of, condemned to discover how to navigate the bureaucracy for themselves. So I think, whenever I found out about this work from Manuel, I was like, oh, this is something that PPN people would be interested in. And so I'm just really happy that this has finally come to pass.
Thank you, Ian. I don't know. There's somebody else at his iPhone. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Michael Brownstein. I'm a professor of philosophy at CUNY at John Jay College and the Graduate Center. And I have some familiarity with think tanks in general, but less so with what philosophers can do at them, aside from a few examples here and there. And then I'm also just interested in learning about your organization.
Excellent. Thank you so much to all. Now we're a bit nervous because you're all professors. So we're hoping that we can be at the level and give you the information that you require. But this is all about discussions, right? And we don't know like all the answers, but hopefully we'll give you like enough insight so you can also have a better idea of the sector. So we are going to start by telling you more about what think tanks are. And then what are like their functions, what is their like strategic position under the policy ecosystem, and then also we will provide you some insights about what they are asking in terms of skills and also in terms of positions lately in the last years due to a database that we have of job boards at our organization, and then we can open like to discussion. So Cam, if you can start projecting, please. If you have any question, just step in and we can, just have a fluent conversation. So what are think tanks really, right? And this is like a very common question, because I guess that every time that I try to explain to my family what I do, they are really confused. So they will have a different explanation to each people they talk to. That she works for the government, she works for CSOs, she do human rights. So I think that this is something that it's not an easy actor to understand what they do. So here, for example, this is very next one. Think what, right? Like what are we thinking as actors? So this is something, and that it's a bit anecdotica, but I do a lot of work with policymakers, but how much effect I am having, it is like they are coming in and saying to you, I am going to drive my car off a cliff. Should I or should I not wear a seatbelt? And you say, I don't think you should drive your car off the cliff. And they say, no, that's a bit already been decided. The question is whether to wear or not a seatbelt. And you say, well, you might as well wear a seatbelt. And then they say, well, we have consulted with a policy expert, Rory Stewart, and he says, and this is like those kind of conversations that think tanks have to manage. And this is extracted from the Washington Think Tanks Factories to Call Our Own. Next one, please. So here we are going to see a video like that explains better what I was saying about me explaining my family what I do. So what's the public answer about what a think tank is?
Wow. I don't know. I've never thought about something like that before, but
Think tank? Oh God. What comes to my mind?
I don't have an answer for that. Nothing.
Kind of like ideas in your head, and you can like pull them out like a fish tank, kind of.
I have no idea what that is. So I think if it's something important, then there should be more media articles or just news articles about it, so I am more aware.
I don't know. A smart person?
I don't know, people thinking.
Just a space to openly put out your thoughts and to think openly with other people that you won't be judged.
A group of people that are coming up with ideas about a certain topic.
People that are trying to influence positions one way or another, depending on who's writing the checks that day.
It used to be when think tank was first started, the term, because I've been around a while and stuff, think tanks were basically open forums where people can express their ideas and get their points across, but rationally. Now it's more of just like, I think they're trying to brainwash people in think tanks now.
So this is the conclusion, but now we will listen from their own think tankers what a think tank is, so they can explain better what they are.
What is a think tank? What is a think tank?
Okay.
A think tank, this is a very good question.
A think tank tries to bring in fresh, evidence-based ideas into the policymaking process.
A think tank is an institution that tries to bridge research and policy.
There are now something like 4,000 think tanks in the world. A think tank is not a university, it's not a research institute, and it's not an NGO advocacy organization either.
Think tanks play this really crucial role of asking questions that can be answered with empirical information and analyses about key policy issues.
They're all doing research to try and improve society in some way and influence policymakers, decision makers, and hopefully the general public.
Think tanks start with a very simple premise. Ideas matter, and those that are carelessly executed and recklessly conceived can have dire consequences.
Think tanks matter because they infuse the public debate with analysis that is based on research and not opinion.
They can convene different policy actors. They can build capacities of policy analysts, of policy makers, of civil society actors and journalists. They can also provide legitimacy to policies by supporting them with evidence, with information, with advice.
The work that think tanks are doing is crucial. I can't imagine a world without think tanks, really.
The reason we do this is not just because we like sitting in cloistered buildings having interesting conversations, but because we can see that the world is changing really fast and that our job is to help shape progress for the future so that everybody benefits.
So I hope that that gives you a better idea of what a think tank is, but you can also find like them in other levels, right? Like think tank, research center, public policy research institute, idea factory, university research center, laboratory of ideas, policy making supporting centers. So, and it also differs depending on the region, right? So for example, we in Latin America, think tank is not the exact translation, like a centro de pensamiento, but we use another thing, not like a investigation center. So it will differ. And what usually happens next is that the previous one is that they will find out that they're a think tank when they are having conversation with other peers. So for example, last time during the School of Think Tankers in Barcelona in 2025, there was this person that after this presentation, very similar, she said, oh, I think that we're a think tank, actually. So she found that like that because it's not like so easily to understand. It's blurred. Next one, please. So we have a directory with more than over 4,000 organizations from all over the world that are think tanks. They have to apply, like, to be part of this database. And what we try to do is like give a database, a transparent database for funders, for grantees, so that they can collaborate better. And this database is updated every year with information that is crucial to understand better the sector. And with that data, we also give insights and inform the annual report that we do about the sector too. But since we have to accept the organizations that are proposing applying to be part of the database, we have a definition that is really broad. So it's a diverse group of knowledge and engagement organizations that undertake research, generate load or knowledge, and use evidence-informed arguments to inform and or influence policy and its outcomes. So this is something that is key, right? It's not just about doing research, but it's like using research to inform or influence policy and its outcomes. Something is wrong, or it's just me with sorry, with the presentation. It is like black.
Yeah, it's mostly readable though.
Okay, good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I
like it
did
has
not
like some
see that.
black spots, but it's okay. So the important thing, because there are like different business models, right? There are different ways they operate, but the important features is that they must have expertise in research to conduct them or assess it, to inform public policies. So those that are doing research without a public policy angle, where they are not considered. So we are nowhere organizations that are mainly focusing on advocacy or not carrying out research. So for example, universities are not part of the group as well. So they do research, but they are not with this trying to influence our policy. So must have an independent or identity. So particularly in the case of university government affiliated centers, and needs to be formally registered. But this criteria has some exceptions, because sometimes the think tank of a university doesn't have its own legal, it's not an illegal entity by itself. So that's how we generate those organizations that are not part or don't comply with these features. They are boundary organizations. So we also keep them like that. Please, and then the following. So here also, and to better understand, we must think, what do they do, right? So what are the functions that they have? So for example, they're an evidence engine. So they gather, they analyze, and they package data that others lack time of capacity to produce. So informing better the decisions and the media scrutiny. They're also an idea generator. So they are always developing and circulating policy ideas to politicians so that they can meet these ideas to frame the agendas or compete internally, and also respond to fast moving events. No? That's the idea too, so that they have or they're constantly generating ideas. And they're also a credibility lender. So they can provide respected institutional backing that political actor, parties, and media invoke, right, to validate proposals and economic claims. They are also a safe dialogue convener. So they host less politicized forums where government, private sector, civil society, and media can debate and also co-create options constructively. So I think that this is a great function that they comply. But they are leadership pipelines. So they train and mentor emerging policy talent through internships, fellowships, and talent banks, so that they feed parties, ministry, and advocacy groups. You can see that it's very often in Latin America that those that are then in government, they were first at think tanks, or they could go from governments then to think tanks. So they are constantly training leaders. Then the political rest stop. So they give politicians the space, as I said, to retreat, like to reflect, review credibility if they had a problem, and prepare for future roles, between policy debates and opposition, because like when they are in government. And they're an idea sanctuary. So they protect contested or repressed ideas and values, so that they survive hostile climates and can re-enter policy debates with conditions shift. So they are holding there like the ideas that are very conflictive, so they can be discussed afterwards. They're also indirect political giving channel. So they enable philanthropists and funders to support agendas and discourse where direct political campaigning is restricted or sensitive. And finally, among others, right, the policy test lab and shock absorbers. So they also experiment proposals and absorb political risk, letting leaders gauge reactions and deflect blame if ideas flop. So that's something that they also do. Any questions so far? So here you can see where think tanks are within the policy ecosystem. So they share a lot with others. So why do we bet at OTT and on think tanks for think tanks is that they have a unique position in the evidence-informed policy ecosystem. So they play a vital role because they reach various actors, including civil society organizations, social movements, political parties, media, philanthropies, academia, and the private sector. So they can talk as them. They have the same language, as to talk to a politician or to a civil society organization, to research. So they are very chameleonic, and that's why they are key actors, because they engage actors, but also enhance this collaborative approach, to contribute to better informed policy making, and strengthens the overall ecosystem, making each actor feel included and part of a large effort. So it's not something that they do by themselves, but they acknowledge others that they are also part of the ecosystem and that their role is important also for it to function. And in the next one, you can see here they are there, the space of think tanks. So, but they are interacting with everybody, right? So, if they are going to do research, probably they will have conversations with academics. But the policy briefs are not going to be the format is not going to be that academic, right? It's going to be more simple. They are also intermediators, so they will facilitate communication in a very simple way, so that policymakers and other actors will understand better what the research is about. They're also in the media talking, and working closely to the media so that they can also influence public opinion, which is key to also bring changes to the policy system. Next one. And also who they work for, right? So they have to serve somebody. So they are political actors, and this is something that we at OTT are very clear about. So these they're not neutral, they're political actors. So they are always serving or working very close with the state, the governments, political parties, the private sector, and also private advocates, and international development agencies. So there's a very nice quote of Bob Dylan that says, well, it might be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you are going to have to serve somebody. And that's the truth, right? Like with think tanks. So it's a way of influencing policy. So think tanks, they are mobile to influence policy, and there are people behind that. That's why also it's very important transparency in terms of who is funding think tanks, because in that way you want to you know better what are they trying to do, what for whom, right? And also you can assess better their quality in terms of their outputs. Next one. And then here finally there's not a new a unique model, as I said. So think tanks need to adapt to changing contexts that they operate, because the only fact that they know is that the context is constantly changing. So now we are seeing that they are moving towards a very polarized environment where evidence is not valued, that they are seen even as threats, to the political ecosystem, or to the governments. They are seen as foreigner actors. So they are changing. They are always like waves of different political contexts and economic and funding contexts that they have to adapt. So I think that that's one of the main features. But so that's why you have different ways to see it. So we have read the Estudios para el Desarrollo in Peru. So this business model is very different because they will bridge the work of research fellows and media partners to connect with public officials and the general public. So they can assess the research that they are, using. They do have like this capacity, but they are not producing this evidence. They are just taking like from others, assessing it, and then packing it in a very way and presenting and doing the advocacy work. So that's one of the ways. Then you have APRI, for example, and I'll give you the presentation after so you can see also like their links. So there's an independent and non-partisan African think tank that is registered. Their offices are in Berlin, in Germany, and Abuja in Nigeria, but they are always trying to influence global policy. We need, and especially advocating on behalf of African countries. So they will be involved and very close with academic think tanks or think tanks in Africa, but taking these ideas so that they can influence global policy in other spaces, global spaces that probably are in Europe. And then we have, for example, the Student Think Tank for Europe-Asia Relationships, and these are this is a student that is a think tank that is mainly conformed by students, and they are remote. They are from different universities, and they're trying to generate knowledge around topics like from Asia and Europe, and they are always working as a think tank, but the main feature is that it's confirmed by students. So you have different models, and then you have the traditional think tank, right, that try to do all also. They do research, they have their own advocacy plans, they are also communicating. But I think that we have been seeing there are two changes right now. They are trying to specialize so that they are moving into collaboration also because of funding decrease. So they're trying to do the best they do and then try to collaborate with others that are best in doing other things, such as academy or advocacy. It will depend on the expertise of the think tank and what they want to do. And the other thing that we are seeing is that the business model, right? The business model is beyond the funding model or a strategy. So it has to make sense in terms of the mission, what are their objectives, and how they connect this with the income streams, the income sources, and they do like an actual business of this. So these are things that we can talk deeper after. I think that now I'll now hand the word to Camila.
Thanks, Estefania. So yes, the idea now is we wanted to share with you to give you an overview of the kind of skills, also topics, but also some career and job opportunities that define the work of think tanks today, and especially in the United States. So this information, it's we have the information from the global perspective, but also from the US. So let's begin with the skills. As Estefania said before, think tanks operate at the intersection with multiple actors, academia, media, consultancy, civil society, and that's why they require people who are not just good researchers or writers, but also they have other skills like the capacity of communicate effectively with different audiences, understand the shape of policy, work with communities and to co-create ideas, and to manage also projects, budgets, and partnerships. Those are skills that also people that work at think tanks needs and usually are required. Now, here you can see more about the skills that think tanks now are asking for, and this is information about the State of the Sector report This is a product that we developed the On Think Tank program developed this report annually. And we asked think tanks what kind of capacities they need. We have the information here from the last 3 years. And as you can see, the ability to fundraise is one of the main skills that usually think tanks are looking for, not only globally, but also in the United States. Following bad skills around communication, marketing, strategic planning, research capacity, innovation and adaptability, and advocacy. But what kind of skills are those is this means? So for example, when we talk about fundraising, we talk about proposal writing, donor relations, project design, negotiation. For example, we talk about communications and marketing, it's more around the storytelling to translate technical information or technical research into accessible messages, manage social media, audience targeting, things like that. When we talk about research, for example, it's not include how do you manage quantitative and qualitative data analysis, but also writing policy papers and synthesize evidence into actionable insights. Strategic planning skills around the strategic planning are developing, for example, theory of change, using result-based management frameworks, and also doing institutional or sectoral analysis that guide decisions in the organizations. Human resources, for example, involves recruiting staff, managing teams, performances, building internal capacities. All around financial management. It's around creating budgets, produce financial reports, and tracking multiple donors or project funds. The advocacy skills around mapping key stakeholders, design campaigns, advocacy campaigns, but also analyze political opportunities and building coalitions with other actors. Those are the skills that are necessarily around advocacy. And finally, governance, that it's about a structured organization, managing transparency and accountability processes, but also leading institutional changes and processes. Then we analyze this database that Estefania told also earlier about job opportunities around the world, but we focus especially on the United States. This is a database. I'm going to share a little bit more about the database later. But as you can see here, the skills, the technical expertise is highly valued for this sector. For example, one of the key skills definitely in this sector is to manage policy. But also research, writing, project management, and also analytical skills. And we also analyze some soft skills that are also important in this sector. For example, communication, the capacity of communicate easy, difficult things, the teamwork capacities, interpersonal and organizational skills that reflects collaborative nature of think tanks work, let's say. And also English proficiency was one of is the almost universal language here in this sector, at least in our data set. And these are some of the topics that usually think tanks are prioritizing. Here you can see the data around Anglosphere that includes United States, Canada, New Zealand, and UK. As you can see, economics is the first topic in this region, followed by environment and climate. followed by social policy, and third, environmental climate. And this is something that, again, we see for think tanks in the United States. Economics is one of the main topics. This is a trend globally too. Most of think tanks are focusing on this topic. But then we have also topics like environment, social policy, and peace and security, almost in this year. So here we want to give you more data about what think tanks are looking for. And we use this data for the jobs board for the 5 last years. And just for you to know how here in these job boards we have any think tank can post their job opportunities, but just for you to know, we have, I put information here about the 3 top recruiting organizations from the US, so you can have a profile and an idea of the think tanks that we have. For example, we have a libertarian think tank founded in 1977, based in Washington, focused on economics, policy, regulation, and individual rights. Another, for example, centrist, more progressive institution, also based in Washington, that focus on climate, health, infrastructure, and social policy. And another, for example, organization that it's more center-right policy group, founded in 2012, also based in Washington, but with offices around the US, focus on cybersecurity, energy, and justice. So as you can see, the diversity and in ideology and focus and in this data set that we have shows that there's no single model of think tank, but also there are opportunities around and across all the political spectrum. So here we analyze data of more than 300 jobs opening in the US-based organizations from a total of around 700 global opportunities in the last 5 years. And as you can see, the most frequently advertised roles are focused on leadership and executive roles, and research and policy expert roles, each one with over more than 100 list openings. Other categories like program and project management, communication, fundraising, and development follow each one around 50 opportunities, 50 positions. And as you can see, technology and data roles are still rare, and advocacy and operations positions represent a small share. And here you can see the peak, as you can see in 2021 and 2022, were peak years for job postings. But yeah, now we are in the half of this year and we have half of postings. So probably this year is going to be also a year with a lot of job opportunities, contrary to probably what it's expecting. We can probably analyze how this sector is growing or how that sector is developing during this year, according to the quantity of the job postings too. And here you can also see what kind of background usually think tanks need from people. And as you can see, advanced education is a strong requirement in this sector. Most positions require at least a master's degree. And yeah, almost the majority of them, they accept a bachelor's degree, and a small portion, around 2%, request PhDs. And in terms of experience, the most common requirements is around 7 to 10 years of experience for this sector. Although roles asking also 4 to 6 years of experience is also frequent here. So I think that's it. So as you can see, the skills that usually this sector needs is a strong mix between analytical skills, but also communicational skills, knowing a lot about the public policy, and ideally some experience about writing, researching, and engaging, especially with the policy relevant debates.
So thank you. Thank you for listening to us. We tried to provide you the most, like the information, the most we can, so that we can answer like some of your questions. But definitely, I'm sure that you can have you have your impressions. You have another question. So now we open the floor like to questions or comments or just like a collective reflection since we are few. Rainy.
This is just on the very last slide. Do you have a sense, or is there any kind of widely shared interpretation about what kind of thing counts as relevant experience? Is it years of experience in the think tank space, or something more broad?
Not necessarily. I don't have the data disaggregate by that definition, but as long as I remember, not necessarily. The idea is to prove that you have those skills that are requirement and that you have the experience. It's interesting how a lot of these job opportunities didn't include that clause to have experience in the sector necessarily. And that's, I think it's why, that's why the think tanks usually move around different sectors. So if you come from a more academic sector or from other sectors that work with think tanks directly, you got to have those kind of skills, and it's not necessarily you are not necessarily a strong candidate. You have worked for think tanks all your life, but if you have those skills working with other sectors, that's also interesting. So probably I should, we could analyze those differences, but as long as I remember, it's not strict to the sector, the required experience.
And also it will depend on the country, and so for example, in the global north, there's a lot of competition for the skills that they are required between academy, consultancy firms, the government, and think tanks. And usually think tanks they're lose because they don't have like the resources to pay as the private sector does. But in the South, I think that it's a bit different because they do have special skills since their role are more advocacy driven. So then they will have like to comply with other things like such as communication, engagement with policy experts and with the policy ecosystem, governments, and those are things that are valued and that probably just a think tank will do. And it's different from other sectors. But I think that it will depend. But in the global north, I guess that it's easier, to move, as Camila says, from one sector to another. Crystal.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot. And as I was listening, I was so excited. I was like, oh, this is exactly the kind of thing that I want to do. So my question is, how do you go about looking for roles? Like, what's the first step? And I guess there's a crude way to go about it, which is just to figure out what all of these organizations are and see what kinds of, but I'm wondering how you would recommend going about it. What would be a smart way to start exploring these opportunities?
So we have this jobs board where all the organizations will post their calls, and we can share with you this, and you can see like the calls and the positions that they have. And I think that depending on the requirements that they have, and since we agree that it's probably they are not expecting you to have a lot of experience in terms of the sector, because that's something that you will learn more if you're in the global. I think that you can see opportunities there. But also we are constantly posting in LinkedIn like other opportunities from think tanks. So what we do is that every time that there's a position, you know, for think tanks, like calls for think tanks, we will repost. So if you can follow us, you will see that we are always, you know, reposting calls from think tanks. But then I don't know. Another way is like just like to, I don't know which is your expertise and which is your your topic, but you can try also reaching out to some of these organizations that you might like. You know, I don't know. You can see in our directory a lot of think tanks, uh, and you can see like which one that you actually like, right? And you can, you know, reach out to them or try to approach them and say, you know, I have expertise in this topic. I know that you are working on that. This is like some research that might be valuable for you to take into account for your policy briefs, whatever it is. And then you can start, you know, like building a conversation and a relationship with some of the think tanks. And then, you know, probably if there's an opportunity, they can take you into account. And another way is just interacting with them. You know, if you have an expertise in this policy issue, and then you can follow them in, there's a think tank that you like, you can follow them in their social media, and then try to engage with them and their topics and provide extra information so you are seen. And another way is you can always, we have this platform, and you can write something about the policy issue and be a contributor in our platform. So in that scene, you can, in that way, you can also see like visibility. You have some visibility within, you know, like the group and all the think tanks that we work with. So for example, in the conference that we do, there are like more than 200 organizations together from different parts of the world, and those are always engaging in our social media channels. So if you write something that is of their interest, we can, you know, put you in the platform, and then you will have some visibility, and probably they can reach out to you too. So they are always also like trying to engage with other academic, like seeing what is like the research that is there. And they are trying to collaborate more now. I think that there's a shift also in the idea of what impact is for them. So before, I think that the narrative was just about policy uptake. And this is mainly because they have to answer to funders, because they have to prove that they can influence policy as their main objective. And of course, that this is a very important objective. But the fact is that it's really difficult to prove that they are, you know, there's a cause effect between what they do and what actually happens after. So they are also moving into a narrative that is more that being useful. They are having other impacts that are not, that are being overseen or are not as valued as the policy uptake, and they're having a lot of pressure to prove that they are influencing policy. So I think that part of this new narrative is collaborate, because it's not just up to me, you know, it's a collective effort. So in that way, they are also trying to look at like for partnerships in academy and in other sectors to contribute. So I think that is a very good moment for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So this is really helpful. So one question, there aren't tons and tons of academic philosophers, at least that I know of, who've gotten into this work. I added a few names in chat, but it's not a huge crowd. But I wonder, so I don't expect you to have like a wealth of experience from that crowd to draw on. But could you say something about like how humanists, broadly speaking, like what sort of special experiences do they have? A lot of the work that you're describing is quantitative, though not all of it. So, I mean, some philosophers are, you know, use quantitative methods, but that's not generally what we specialize in. So yeah, could you say a little bit about like what the sort of distinctive challenges or opportunities are that face people coming out of the humanities getting into this work?
So I'll try to answer, and Cami, if you want to also step in and contribute. But I think that this is a very good sector for this kind of profile, because you're very passionate. And I guess that one of the best drivers for think tanks is passion. You know, you have to be passionate about something so you can go through all, because it's a very difficult sector. You're trying to influence policy, and it's not easy. So unless you are like, you know, like drive by passion or by like some social objectives and concerns, I think that it's, and purpose, exactly, you know, it's the sector for this kind of profile. I think that you have like the qualities as well, because in many think tanks is mixed. There are like mixed methodologies, and I think that the quality also qualitative methodologies are very common too. It's not just about quantitative. Actually, quantitative methods are very, very weird because they're really expensive. And I think that the resources are very scarce now. So I think that most of the think tanks will use, unless they have like big resources, but most of think tanks are small or medium size. Unless you have resources, there will be like qualitative methods mainly. And then of course it's always about social policy, and that is related to humanism, right? And Manuel, I talked to him before, like 2 weeks ago, and he was like really trying to get involved with the sector, and he was struggling with that, but finally he's working for this place that is perfect, because his work, what he's doing is trying to inform and ensuring that the values of the organization are everywhere, you know, are in place in terms of organizational norms, in terms of their mission, in terms of their planning, in their outputs. So think tanks are also they have ideology, as Camila also proved, right? It doesn't mean that you as a person have to go with that ideology, you know, to work in that place. But probably, since you are going to be doing like recommendation in terms of public policy, like that's going to be there too, right? So I don't know how it's going to be how that works, but there's more. It is more visible or in some than others, right? Like Project 2025, you know that you have to go with an ideology there in the USA, right? Others are probably less, and they go across other issues, and they're more technical, right? But I think that the skills are there. You know, probably what you will be struggling more at the beginning is about communications or advocacy things. But there are things that you will learn in the way. Cami, I don't know if one.
I'm just gonna add that probably this sector is one that value a lot the multidisciplinary collaboration. It depends on the topic, but usually you don't see a think tank full of economists or full of, I don't know, political scientists. You usually have lots of profiles in different kind of areas in a think tank. So that's also important. And focusing a little bit more about the skills, something that I really noticed, and it was interesting for me, it's this part of the analytical skills that I think it's more than just have the skills to research or to manage some tools around research. It's also the capacity to think in a specific way. So that's something that I think that this sector really value, and that's something that you as philosophers usually have this in your mindset. Also, this capacity of argumentation when writing, that the capacity to construct good arguments, to write clearly and logically, or engage with different viewpoints. That's also something that could be value, and the capacity of having in mind this ethical reasoning, especially in a new context with technology, with different kinds of trends that are now raising. I think that this skill is also important for this sector, and you could you could have these as part of your career and your profession. So yeah.
But I think also that you need to be like also like that. There's like it's not easy, right? It's a very complex environment. And I was talking to a friend that is a philosopher, and I was like, I would never get involved in politics because it's not that straightforward. It's not that clear. There are like so many boundaries that you probably will have to pass. But it's a grateful is a great sector, you know, like I think that that you can support contribute a lot like to this sector from your perspective. And I think that your profile, that as Camila said, you know, always thinking about values and also like the ethical part, or you know, because also you need like some of these insights when it comes to research and when it comes to policy recommendations that might be overseen, but I think that it could be like an extra value that you bring to the sector.
You may have answered this or there are some answers to this in an answer you earlier gave to Crystal, but I wondered whether there are any best practices or good first steps for academics who would like to be engaged with a think tank without necessarily joining it. So like, are there do's and don'ts or a method of approach that are recommended?
I think that it's always valuable, like to have other alternatives and more insights in terms of what you are doing for in research. You know, about about that issue that they work on. So if you, for example, I don't know what's your expertise, you are interested about climate change or a specific topic, you can look at think tanks that are working on that topic and try to engage with them and see, you know, this is like the main trends. This is what I am. I'm doing research about. This is like my expertise, so that they can also take you into account. There are like different models in think tanks that they are not. They also use consultants for specific projects, right? So you could contribute with your insights, you know, like and try to interact with them in terms of the issue that they are doing research. But also you can, you know, like offer, like try to be consultant for any project because of that expertise, because they are not experts in everything, right? So they do sometimes require some external consultants for specific projects, and especially if the matter is very specific or the issue is very specific. But yeah, I think that trying to engage in these spaces where they are and try to see what they are doing, and talk to them, reach out, and also like have conversations about what you're doing in terms of research and what's your expertise. I will, you know, I recommend you identify or map like some think tanks that you would like to, and maybe volunteer. Like it's always like the resource is really scarce. So and especially now, so if you want to like volunteer for something in particular, and you can see that's another way like to approach them.
And I just want to add that it's probably a little bit of self-promotion, but use the OTT website on the platform. There's a lot of resources there. For example, the directory where you can find all the organizations registered in your country around the topics that you are interested in. And we usually have these spaces of to convene different actors. The OTT conference is one of them. But also we had nice experience of people who went to the School of Think Tankers, that they were more focused on the academic sector. And then after being part of this experience, they switch. Even some of them, they start their own think tanks, or they have these long-term connections and relations with other actors that that could create something around art. So just I think there's a lot of information there around the main topics that probably think tanks are facing now. We're just about to publish the state of the sector with a lot of interesting insights around the sector. So if you see that something something gets your attention, probably we can recommend you even who are working around that, or who is thinking about that. So create this network around who is working with the sector. It's very valuable.
So, and just to finish, because I didn't want to use this space to promote us, but I guess that I think that what Camila says is really interesting, right? Like the School of Think Tankers that is now happening in Barcelona next year. There's like 5 full days that you will be interacting with people that are probably thinking the same like as you know. And Manuel, actually, after the school. After he came to the school, then he decided, that he wanted to go to the think tanks sector, and then try to build something. But these spaces are crucial, for you to get to interact with these people that are working on the sector, and especially if you are doing research in one issue that is of their interest. I think that you have a lot to talk to them. So please reach out to us, and as Camila says, use us, right? Like use our job board. Reach out if you have any question. If you have, do you know something about someone of this think tank I'm interested in? Probably we do, or Enrique, of course, that he will knew, and we can at least introduce you. Like this person is interested in your work, and he is doing that research about this issue. Just like introducing you. That's something that we can do as well as OTT, and also like the conference is another space. Next conference is in Morocco, in Rabat. We have there 180 organizations together thinking about trust. That's the new topic, the next topic, and it's trust in partnerships, trust in the policy system, trust in different topics, right? The trust is an important value for this sector, so that's what we're going to be analyzing as a collective. But the contribution, gain visibility by posting a blog. So for example, right now, if there's a finding that calls you attention and it's related to what you're doing, just write a little blog. We have some guidelines specific for that, and we will edit it and send it on a platform and to all our contacts, and then you will have some more visibility about what you're doing, and you will be reached out after, probably.
Maybe if I can just cut in, I'll just add one other resource, which is not exactly a way of getting academics into sort of temporary positions in think tanks, but is nearby, is the in the US, we have the Intergovernmental Personnel Act, which is how like Anita Allen got started doing like public policy work. It's a federal program for getting academics into like temporary positions in federal agencies. So not think tank work, but obviously related in that you can your work can have some bearing on public policy. There was another program called the Presidential Management Fellowship, which was more for early career people and was like a full-time thing. But I think that was just destroyed by the Trump administration. But we'll see if the Presidential Management Fellowship comes back. But That was more of a thing of a way for sort of like getting early career academics to transition into full-time positions in federal government. Yeah.
And there are these foundations, right? Like the Robert Bosch Foundation. There are others that also have like fellowships, but they're not that academic. So they have also a lot of interaction with think tanks, and they support think tanks. So by being their fellows, you have like some also they can recommend you after, with the grantees or the people that they are working with. So I will also suggest that you look at these fellowships in these organizations that they are more, like related to the think tanks or the policy informed ecosystem work, like like the Bosch Foundation. You have Mercator, like the German ones, and there are others that you can look at. For us, I guess that there are like also some think tanks that they do have also fellowships you can look at.
That's tremendously helpful. Thank you so much.
So I hope that we help you out with some of your questions. But just I hope that we have this is a starting point for a longer relationship. Please be in touch with us and don't hesitate to write and ask about things. Like go through our resources, the directory. If you have any question, just write us, and we'll try to help you out, because I think that what this thing that you are feeling, the sense of trying to help or do something else for this world, I think that you are we want to help you too, so that you can accomplish that. I don't know if it's through think tanks, but I think that it's a great actually to start to try at least.
Maybe I'll add, yes, this workshop is just full of really helpful information. I appreciate it. For what it's worth, the Public Philosophy Network is always looking for new ways to support philosophers interested in getting into new forms of public philosophy or deepening their public philosophy practice in one way or another. We're always looking for new resources to create that might be helpful to share with people. So if you have an idea for some variety of public engagement you'd like to learn more about, or that you'd like some help getting into, or in general, if there's just anything that PPN can do to, make your life easier or more rewarding, let me know. We've got our next conference coming up October 17th to 19th at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario. We've got another round of grants for public philosophy events opening up soon. I've got to write some emails, but that'll be opening up soon. And then the PPN awards, like awards recognizing sort of excellent work, both from junior career people and senior people in public philosophy. That's all on the horizon. So yeah.
And Manuel, maybe it's a good reference to we tried to invite him like to this meeting, but he was in summer in Berlin, so he couldn't commit. But if you write him, we can provide, or you can provide his contact. I think that he will be happy also to share his own experience and how he work on his path towards like the think tanks world.
Yeah, I'll add Andrew Light was a person active in PPN in the early days, and has I can't remember whether he's full-time at the World Resources Institute now, or he's might be at George Mason as well. In any case, he's a person who's successfully kept sort of one foot in academia, and then also worked for the State Department and worked at these NGOs doing broadly think tanky work. Andrew Light is a good person to reach out to here. So yeah.
And final promotion. This is a build think tank guide, how to build a think tank. And then here you have like the general topics, right, about a think tank, like from governance, why, what, who, how, when. Like it will help you like reflect about also the sector, and probably also if you want to start like a think tank, this would be like a good starting point to read. Thank you again. I apologize for rescheduling this meeting, and I am I'm sorry, but please let's stay in touch and let us know if you have any further questions after this meeting. We will send you the presentation in case that you want to.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank
was
you.
really
And yeah,
excellent.
we recorded this meeting, so we'll share the recording with all of you guys and with other people who'd registered but couldn't make it. So, but yeah, in any case, thank you again.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Take good care.
Bye.